Blue Train. We'll play a chart for Don first, and then we'll get into intros. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, band. This is my friend Don Rader. Don Rader's list of bands that he's played with. It's got to be unbelievable even to him. But
They're all dead now.
They're all dead now. That's how good he is. Buddy Rich, Maynard Ferguson, just Count Basie. It's an incredible privilege for us to have Don come in here and work with us. So band, this is Don, band.
Starting at the beginning, Blue Train. First of all, the one thing that I did notice, that everything was played at the same dynamic. There were no shadings at all. So when it says pianissimo, that's pretty soft. When it says mezzo forte, when it says mezzo forte, that's a little bit louder. And you save all your loud stuff for the very loud stuff, which is like in the last page here, where you start going, start softer and get louder. That's a bar, I don't have bar numbers. No, yes I do. Bar 57 and 58. Same thing happens in 53 and 54. This is all the horns. And drummer, I think you, since we don't have a bass player, you could be more forceful. This is only my first opinion, but it feels to me like you could be pushing the band a little harder, okay? Rhythm section, guitar, bass, we don't have a piano, do we? The second bar of the tune, you got 1, 2, ba, da. Don't make the first one too short. Make it more like the brass players are playing when they come in on it. Okay, as far as improvising goes, who played the tenor solo? You?
Yeah.
You were improvising because you got lost in the rhythm solo toward the end. You started faking it and you got out okay. Keep that in mind. That's basically what it's all about. When you stand up to play an improvised solo or a jazz solo sometime, you have to take into context what you're improvising on. This happens to be, I guess it's basically a blues. No, it's not. Remember the melody of the tune that we're playing. That has a lot to do with what your improvising should have to do with. And as long as we've gotten off on that, let me just go through a few things on my pamphlet here. The objective, what you want to do when you're standing up to play a solo, can anyone give me a good definition of improvising, improvisation, improv? Well, basically what it is, it's starting with nothing and making something out of it. When a guy sits down to write a novel, he's improvising. He's got a story in his head, he's writing out the story. No one else has done this before, he's done it, so he's actually improvising. Anybody who tries a new medical technique, I didn't do it. A medical technique or anything like that, they're improvising. Anything that comes out new in your car, that's an improvisation, hasn't been tried before. So what we want to do, we want to first of all be as confident on our instruments as we possibly can, because the main object of improvising is to be able to express what you're thinking through your instruments. So if you don't have the technique to make this happen, then you have to work on your technique more. Anyway, you all should be working on technique at this stage anyway, because that's how you get your chops together when you go to college. The bands are going to be pretty good, so if you want to get into one of them, you got to start now. And I highly recommend that if you have any kind of a idea that you might want to go into USC or UCLA or any college where they have a good jazz band, you'll have to audition. So you know what that means. So get your figures together, your slides together, whatever you're using, and so that when we get up to improvise, we're not just making noise. We have to have a thought. And one of the things you can do to help yourselves on that is practice scales, major and minor. Not that hard. And when I say practice, I never practiced 8 hours a day. I never practiced 4 hours a day. I practiced until I got tired, and then that was it. And but I was lucky in the fact that my dad was a jazz musician. He was a trombonist, and so he pointed me in the right direction. And this is part of his influences in this little pamphlet that I wrote for the National Association of Jazz Educators probably about 25 years ago. But it still says the same. So we need to know our scales, chords and arpeggios, rhythms, not so important. It's important for the drummer and the bass player and the piano player mostly, but I'm just going to read from this and then I'll explain it. Some of the tools that you need. A jazz player must be able to know and hear every note or phrase mentally before he plays or executes the note or phrase. Well, to a point. You got to know what tune you're playing. You have to know what the tempo should be. You have to know what the material is that you're playing. If you don't know the material, how can you improvise on something that doesn't exist? So if you don't know the material, you have to learn the material. And when I say that, I mean songs. I taught at the Sydney Conservatorium of Music in Australia for 6 years, and one of the things they did down there that I didn't like at first, but I've come to like it, is they gave me a list of 20 tunes. Jazz, standard tunes, standard tunes, ballads, that kind of thing that each student was required to know at the end of the semester. And the reason for that was that there is certain literature, if you will, in music, in jazz music, that is considered what we play. If you go to a jam session or something, somebody's going to say, let's play blues and that, okay. Let's play, I took a trip on a train. Let's play this, let's play that, let's play the other. Standard tunes, but they're all in the jazz repertoire, and you should find out what they are. And I'm sorry I didn't bring the list. I should have brought a list. But yeah, of the tunes that you would like to learn, and you can learn on them. The other thing to do is go out and buy a CD of your favorite jazz player, if you have any favorite jazz players. If you don't have a favorite jazz player, it would be wise to get into somebody that you really like. And I mean, I've always had my idols, all the way from Louis Armstrong and Harry James and Roy Eldridge up to Miles and Dizzy and Maynard and all those guys. So I've gone through a whole lot of trumpet players that I sort of patterned myself after. They were my launching pad. Whenever one of the guys that helped me the most, two guys here in town, one was Shorty Rogers, who was a great jazz trumpet player, and he was a composer and arranger, and the other one was Conte Condoli, who was a great jazz trumpet player with Stan Kenton's band. So those guys sort of pointed me in the right directions, and I think that the reason that they did that is because I wasn't afraid to ask them questions. I didn't care how stupid the question was. If I needed to know the answer, I went to them and asked them. And no one ever says, that's the dumbest question I ever heard, or anything like that. So, first of all, how many of you own a jazz CD? Okay, one guy, two guys out of, what have you got, 18, three guys out of 18 people. Question?
Well, I stream it online, so does it count?
I'm sorry,
I stream it online, so does that count?
I can't hear you.
I stream it online, like I listen to it online, does that count?
I don't know what you're telling me. You're streaming it online.
I listen to it.
Oh, I see what you said, instead of buying CDs?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The trouble with that is, for me, you hear one tune. But if you want to really get into, say, Miles Davis or John Coltrane or any of those guys, you have to listen to the whole album, and not only just one album, but a bunch of albums. And that's what I did. My record collection started out as, what do they call the old vinyl?
Vinyl.
No, not before that. The ones that broke when you drop them.
LPs. LPs?
Before that, they were.
I don't know what the material was, but I know what you're talking about.
It was shellac. That's what they make them out. Okay, I started there. Then I went to the 10-inch LP, then the 12-inch LP, and then my first CD that I bought was Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. And so, as musicians, one of the things that we can do that is best for us is to use your ears, listen to music. You can't play a jazz solo if you never heard one, basically. By hearing one, you at least get a concept of what you're supposed to be doing. And it's more than just standing up and wiggling your fingers and making noise. There's a plan to all of this, and the plan is that we have to deal with the material that we are currently playing with. Is everybody with me on that? Whatever, if you're playing a ballad, you're not going to play a solo like you would on a bebop tune. You wouldn't play a ballad solo on a bebop tune like you wouldn't play a bebop solo on a ballad. So the material you're working with, the tempo that it is, blah, 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 and then any other instances where you might have had a record of whatever it is that you happen to be working with, like Blue Train. Well, that's one Coltrane played on it almost every gig, pretty much. And so my first advice to you is go buy a jazz CD. I don't care who it is, including vocalists. There's a lot of great vocalists out there, like Natalie Cole and who's the chick that married Elvis Costello?
Diana Krall.
Diane Krall. And, but there are many others as well. So you have to, when you're listening to those people, you're listening to pros. You're listening to people who've done it and know how to do it. And if you are lucky enough to find somebody that you really love their playing and start buying their records and everything like that, then you are on your way. I mean, I sounded like every trumpet player known to man before I finally got my style. And I don't know how that came about. Came about one day. I just played something, and somebody said, "Wow, you know, that's different," or whatever. And I didn't realize that it had been different. But I keep listening to new guys all the time. You know, I listen to the old guys, but I listen to the new guys too, because they're coming up with more interesting music than I have been ever exposed to before. So the point is, go out and buy yourself a record, get an idea of what it is you're trying to do here. This big band, that's fine. It's a standard instrumentation except for 5 trumpets, and I'm glad to see that because bands are starting to use 5 trumpets now. When I was on Woody Herman's band, we had 5 trumpets. On Stan Kenton's band, we had 5 trumpets. So, although with Maynard's band, we only had 3 trumpets, and we could make more noise than all of those put together, mainly because of Maynard. So, buy yourself a record, find yourself an idol, practice along with the record, practice your scales, practice your major minor scales. If you get past that and you can get into arpeggios and that kind of thing, fine. It takes time though. None of this is overnight success. Even you take a guy like Wynton Marsalis, which maybe you've heard of, he is as an adept at symphony music as he is with jazz music. He's a great jazz player. The other night I was coming home from a gig and I was listening to the classical station. There was a trumpet playing, I can't remember what the piece was, but it was great. And he said, Wynton Marsalis, I almost died then, because he was so, you could put him up against just about any classical trumpet player. So, moving along. If you hear it up in here, you should be able to play it. Now, that takes years and years and years and years and years to get to that point. But that's the idea. If you hear it, you've got to have the ability to play it. And if you can't do that, then your hearing is not bad, your playing is bad. So you've got to bring that up to scratch. You've got to be as competent. You have to be as competent on your instruments as any symphony player has to be. Fortunately, or unfortunately, when you're trying for a symphonic job, you have to go audition for the orchestra manager and for the leader and all those people. Jazz band, you don't get a chance to do that. You don't have to audition, but my experience has been that your audition, if they hire you, your audition is the first couple weeks. If you don't have the book, which is what we call the music, down in a couple of weeks, they let you go and they hire somebody else. So any competent player should be able to get into a band, and if they can read music and they got their instruments down, should be able to play in a big band and stay in a big band. The hookup or the hang-up comes when it comes to improvising. So a lot of people don't actually have an idea what improvising is about. And So consequently, you might go and hear a band where they're playing something, it comes to a drum solo and it goes all over the place. That's not only bad taste, it's wrong. So the thing is, you don't want to be in a position where you're playing wrong things or hesitant things or anything. You got to sort of, you have to look at it like it's a challenge, and it is a challenge. Every time I stand up to play a solo in a band, it's a challenge. I don't know what I'm going to play until I get up there, but usually there's something, what I call a kicker, that the band plays. They might go something, and then you got it. So that usually helps me decide what it is I'm going to play afterwards, because they have given me a clue. Now, I don't have to stay with that for very long, but that gets me started. Time, meter. Everybody in the band has to have good time. If there's a third trombone player that has bad time, that can hang up the whole band. Suddenly everybody's looking around saying, where's one? As in 1, 2, 3, 4. So everybody, it's very essential that you practice. It's not that essential, but the ideal would be if you practice with a metronome, especially when you're practicing scale. You know, then you get a little faster, a little faster, a little faster. That's how you build technique. Trumpets, Arbin's book is the one that did it for me. And there's also a book called Technical Studies by Herbert L. Clark. Herbert L. Clark was an old-time cornet player, but boy, the technical studies in there, man, will get your third finger moving. I'm not a trombonist, I'm not a saxophonist, so I don't know what material you would use. But if you did nothing else but the Herbert L. Clark book, you would be doing a lot. There are a lot of other books that talk about nothing but breathing. Most kids, probably your age, don't really know how to breathe before you play the horn. Taking a breath as a trumpet player or any brass player means that you take as much in as you could possibly need, if not better, if not more. You don't want to run out of steam before the end of a phrase. You want to have something a little bit left, just in case you have to come in on something the next bar. I noticed the bass trombone player has very good breathing, and very good sound because of it. So these are the things that are all pretty much general as far as musicianship is concerned. Musicianship is the foundation of everything that you need before you get into jazz improvising. If you got your musicianship down, your time down, your concept down, and anybody know what I mean by the concept of it?
Like this style? This style?
Yes, exactly right. And so we have to know what it is we're trying to recreate here. Does anybody here own a big band CD? Does anybody here own a hip hop, rap? Okay. I can't import. You're laughing. I can't tell you how important it is to listen. Listen to the jazz station, K-Jazz. I think it's 810, 8810, something like that on the dial. Buy a record. By a record, I mean buy a CD. Listen to it. See what the person's doing. If you buy, say, Miles Davis, start earlier than Miles. Go back to Freddie Hubbard. There's thousands of beautiful musicians out there that have all made records, and you guys should be able to make use of those. Okay, any questions? Let's go with Blue Train from the top. Remember the guitar? Ba-da. Is that about the right tempo? Okay, this starts off saxophones, mezzo piano. Boy, this writing is small. And it doesn't start to get loud with anybody in the band until it looks like 2 bars before 37, 3 bars before bar 37. There's a couple of crescendos there. One starts, it's a mezzo, forte piano. The next one is a mezzo forte, and the last one's forte. So we want like that, okay? In those bars. Let's go from the top. Who's gonna play solos here? You, and you. Okay. One, two, 1, 2. Sorry, I thought those, that is a pickup bar.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ba-da, ba-da, da. Okay? 1, 2, 1, 2. Since we don't have a bass player. So instead of just, I want you to play those figures, but I also want you to give us a 2 and 4. 2, just to keep the time together, okay? Can you do that and manage the figures as well? 1, 2, 1, 2. This time, when we get to the solo, I don't want you to play what's written there. I want you to play what you're hearing in your head, regardless of what it is. You may be the next jazz trumpet star, who knows? If there is. So, we're going to go back to bar 16. 16. So I'll just give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ba da ba da ba, the same as before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. To get you started, you can play bar 24 the way it is, ba da 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 da, and then you should go off onto something. You have chord changes written there?
Yes.
Above the notes. So obviously you should know what notes are in those chords. Do you? Okay. Well, that's one of the things that you have to learn. So, to give yourself a good shot into getting into your improvised solo this time, not your written type, play ba-da-da-da, ba-ba-ba-da, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-da. You got it. So whatever happens, it's yours. Bar 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That was very good. That was very good. What you did was you took little bits in here, which happened to be like they're like stepping stones. And then you played something of your own for a couple of bars, and then you referred to the solo. That's very good. That's the way to get started. That was a good solo. So can we go back to 16 again? And now we're going to have you. All right. Bar 16. You don't have any kind of a pickup into that solo, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, we'll play bar 16 and you start playing at 25. If you were to do nothing but play an F through that whole solo, you could get away with it. So what I'm suggesting is, instead of building your solo around the written one, as she sort of did, why don't you hone in on your F? Go up above it, go down below it, go up above it, go down below it. You know what I'm saying? With first, the first chord is an F9. You know what's in an F9? Do you know what's in an F7? Don't be shy.
I don't know.
Do you know what's in an F? F chord. F triad. F, A, C. The 7th is E flat. The 9th is G. So, those are the notes you have to work with, among others. Those are actually the scales you have to work with. So, I'm not trying to confuse you here. I'm trying to help you out. So let's go from bar 16 and you're going to play the solo this time. You have questions? No?
No.
Anybody else have questions?
Wait. So you want me to just play that?
I will, well, not just play F. I'm telling you that that's the center point. That's, what do they call that? There's an F. That's like a pedal that is the essence of your solo. That everything on the, I look at all these chords, they all got an F in them. Every one of them. Except for the C7. So what I'm saying is, if you hear nothing else as reference in this tune, you'll always be able to hear an F, because that's what you'll be playing. Am I making sense here? You look very confused.
So you're saying that every chord has an F in it?
Yes. Well, you can see yourself, F9 is going to have an F. B flat 9, that's going to have an F. B flat D, F. F9 is going to have an F. B flat 9 is going to have an F. F9 is going to have an F. You got it made, man. Okay, 16. I'll tell you what. What we can do to make it more realistic is, why don't you play the written solo the first time through and play an improvised solo around the F the second time through. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
I guess that's, it says there's a repeat. Yeah, there's a repeat there.
Yeah.
Let's do it that way. So we're starting at bar 16, she's played. Bar 16 is going to be an interlude that we're coming to your solo. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. saxophone?
Me.
Okay. Let's just pretend that he's just finished his solo. I'm gonna give you 4 bars, or 4 beats, 2 bars into bar 37, and that's your solo, right? Brass, you have backgrounds there. They're mezzo forte. That's not loud. Just very easy. I just want to hear it, okay? So here's 2 bars into bar 37. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That doesn't repeat?
They go into alto solo.
Oh, who plays after that? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Could we go again? That was a nice solo, man. Yeah. Let's go with your solo again, and then I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was a different soloist. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, solo. You had a nice solo too, but you relied too much on that one lick that you played 3 times through the first 10 bars. So using it once is okay, using it twice is okay. After that, forget it.
Yeah.
Because it becomes redundant and too repetitive. Okay. Who else has solo here that I haven't heard yet? Anybody? Let's go from the top. This time I want improvised solos from each of you guys. Don't forget what's on the page. I don't mean don't forget what's on the page. Forget what's on the page on your written solos and just play. Use your ears. Listen to the rhythm section. Yes, sir.
Do you want me to play out more?
Yeah. I can't hear you that well up here. They probably are hearing better than I am, but yeah, if you could get a little more. We're missing the bass for sure.
Yeah.
So you sort of have to make up for it.
All right.
Top? Any questions before we go on this? Yes, sir.
In measure 37, this is open for sax solos and backgrounds for the last time for the brass. But this time that we just played it, we played both the first and second time.
Well, we will not open it at this time. We'll play it just like it is,
Okay.
with the repeat and all that. Yeah, opening up for a soloist, if you have somebody that's really hot in the band, then you say like that, the leader will go like that. That means if you are playing a solo, for instance, in bar 25, that would mean that the rhythm section would go back to 25 and would keep repeating that part so that you could stretch out and open up your solo. That won't apply to us yet. One day, but not today. Okay? I'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and it'll win. I'm gonna pick it up just a little bit. 1, 2, 1, 2. on bar 29, more forceful than that. It's almost like you were sneaking in. It's the background to his solo. Ba-da, doo-doo-da, ba-ba, ba-ba-da, ba-da. Play it out a little bit. But if you can't hear the soloists, you're playing too loud, okay? Let's go with the trombone solo, bar 25. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. On the last bar, it says ride. What does that mean?
Just like a little roll. Or
Yeah, you should give us a cymbal roll on that. Ride, I've never heard that term except where you're going ding, ding, ding. Okay, very nice solo, very nice solo, very nice solo. What I'd like you to do in the future, when you get a new chart and you see a solo, play the written solo the first time. Then after that, try and be your own person. Try and give us some of your personality in that. And the way you do that is just the way we've been talking about it. You know, the better you are on your instrument, the better jazz player you're going to be. And by jazz player, I'm speaking improvising. Generally, in a lot of the bands, in fact, most of the bands that I was in, everybody in the band was an improviser with the exception of the lead trumpet player. I mean, that's a total different category right there. That's a different way of practicing, a different way of studying. But for improvisers, all of you did pretty much what I had hoped that you would do. And especially the trumpet back there. It was very nice solo, very well thought out. Not perfect, but nothing is perfect. So the next time you get a new chart, try written solo the first time, and then after that you got it. And don't be afraid. That's one of the most frightening aspects in any band for me was being in the trumpet section and having to come down to the front of the band and play a solo. But after I did it a couple times, I started to like it. and then I liked it more and more. So I thought to myself, well, that's what I want to do. That's me, you know. So you all will have to decide. Probably you won't become professional musicians. Maybe one of you will, maybe some of you will, but in my experience, most of you will not. However, there's still university, and there's a lot of chances to play in good bands and all those places, and eventually maybe you will make up your mind to say, I'm going to try this, and you go into the music profession. And the more friends you make, the better off you'll be, because they're the ones that recommend you to leaders and contractors that get you the jobs. So it's probably too early in life for you to decide if you want to pursue the music business as a career. I knew what I wanted to do when I was 7 years old. My dad started me out on trumpet when I was 5. He was a jazz trombone player, and he took me to hear all the big bands of the day, and suddenly that's all I thought about. And I just practiced. I said, what I want to do is this. And I put all of I even joined the Navy so that I could go to the Naval School of Music in Washington, D.C., because I was a slow reader, and I knew that if I was going to get into the business, I would have to pick up my reading. So this old chief of the school says, when I auditioned, the guy says, you play great jazz. He says, but you don't read worth a damn. So I said, well, that's why I want to go in, you know. And he says, well, we'll teach you how to read. And they did. So I had to give up 4 years of my life to do that, but it was worth every second of it, because I had a good time in the Navy too. I was aboard ship. We were in the Mediterranean, and every time we came to a port, I took my horn and I went ashore and I found out who the local bands were, and I went in and played with them. Sometimes it was even strip shows. I didn't care. I just wanted to play, you know.
Attention, those students who have signed up for the blood drive, remember to bring your school ID
Okay.
and something with your
Wrap it
birthday
up.
on it tomorrow if you're 16. Please bring your forms. Again, those of you who signed up for
Sounds
the blood
like
drive, please
prison.
make sure to bring your school ID and your birthday on it. Thank you.
How would you say?
Back into yourselves.
Yeah.
Don't ask.
That's my history teacher.
We're out of time. Thank you very much for your attention. You're a good group. I enjoyed working with you, and I hope next time we have a bass player.
He's not ready.
Come on, Marty, get a bass player.
I'll work on it. I'll work on it. Thank you very much, John.
Please, you're gonna give me a swell here. Okay?
All righty.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.